And it's not bad, it's just different. And it's not for everybody. But there are a lot of things that are not for everybody. I interviewed once with Houston's back in the 90s. Houston's was the gold standard in the restaurant industry. They paid more than anybody else, but they worked the ever-loving crap out of you. They owned you. And so I went through the entire interview process, and I ended up getting an offer in an interview with the head of HR. And he said, before you say yes, I want you to go home and think about something. You are newly married with a child, with a 5-year-old daughter and a toddler. When you come to work, we are the Navy SEALs of the hospitality industry. When we come in as leadership, we don't do line tastings, we do menu tastings, and we make you make one of everything. And when regional guys come in, if it's your day off, it's not your day off anymore, you're in working. And he goes through this whole long list basically saying, we own you. That's why we pay you so much. And he said, I just want to make sure that you and your wives think about that commitment. Because I would hate for you to make a decision that brings you a lot of stress and heartache and maybe ruins your marriage. And I went home, and on the drive home, I thought about that. I thought, by the time I got home, I knew I couldn't accept it. And so it's not that they were bad. In another life, much earlier in my life, I would have said yes in a heartbeat. And it would have done amazing things for my resume.
At least they're honest about it.
Yeah, they were very upfront. Right. Most are not. Most are very, they tell one thing, but they do another. And
what was their retention rate like? It seems like there would be a self-selection bias where people knowing what they're getting into.
they had a much better retention than the industry, because an assistant manager that everyone else was paying 25, they were paying 45. A general manager that everyone else was paying 50, 60, they were paying 6 figures. And this was back in the 90s before managing partnerships were all the rage.
So how is automation impacting the restaurant and the hospitality industry?
I think the trouble is they don't know how to use it, and they don't know where to use it. They would love to be able to use it in the kitchen, but they're not sure how to do that. And you'll never get a full service casual diner to think it's a good idea to do away with waitresses and give everyone an iPad for their menu and make it all self-select. You'll never get anybody like that who's been in the business a long time to agree to that. But I think there's some hybrid to be had. I just don't think the restaurant industry is filled with people, correct me if I overstate, is filled with a bunch of people who are proud of the fact that they don't know anything about technology. I'm a chef. I don't know how to turn my computer on, and so what? I can pay somebody to do that, right?
Yeah, I think it depends on the segment. So the restaurant industry, you've got probably 5 different segments, all the way from fast food, which all quick service restaurants, QSR, all up to the Houston's or the fine dining and the bunch in between. So the technology, down towards QSR, a lot more opportunities because the entertainment value in this great. In other words, they want their food fast. Whereas at the high end of the restaurant industry, you remember the days when they used to make the chef salad right at the table, that's the entertainment value. So the higher end, you're paying for, entertainment more than you are, the productivity. So I would say down the line, I mean, they're taking advantage of scheduling programs and
That's true.
and ordering and logistics programs and things. But down the line, the further you get to the QSR, that's sort of the way the technology flows.
It's very high in the QSR, and you start getting The further away you get from it, the more difficult it is. I had a client once, they were having the NRA's FS Tech conference here in Atlanta. And so I flew him in and we went to it. And he wanted to talk to the vendors that had the technology that allowed you to, at the table side, place the orders and to give the receipts and give the guest check right there table side. You didn't have to walk anywhere because you were all rigged up to do it. And so the server shows up at the table and pulls out a white pad to take the order. And my client says, wait. I thought you guys had the wireless technology to take the order from the table. He says, we do, but out in this section of the dining room, it doesn't work really well because they didn't put in enough routers. I said, got it. So he takes the order. At the very end of the thing, he says, can we at least try to settle my credit card this way? And the server said, sure, and handed him the thing, and he ran the credit card, and it didn't, no service. And so the server had to take it back. He probably spent over $150,000 on that system. And it didn't work in 30% of the dining room because he saved money on a $10 router. That's the world of the high-end restaurant person.
Yeah, I talked to some folks at Chili's too about that. They said one of their big concerns was the security issue, just transmission of the credit card information. People, I don't know if it's improved anything, but having that hacked and then losing your identity.
Yeah, because the law is that if you get hacked, if you are a vendor and your system gets hacked, you are responsible an enormous amount of money and fines to restore those people.
This works in different ways in different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to dinner in France, they bring the card reader to you.
Yep.
It's not the other way around. They don't take your card somewhere else. And I
Right.
think there's a lot of risk in having someone walk away.
So I was just in Paris, and the poor server just absolutely died. The manager had this little tried to come back out because I handed the card to the server, and the server, without even thinking, wrapped the card and didn't realize she touched it, just about dropped it, because now they're not allowed to actually physically handle the card.
We are so far behind as a country in that stuff. The chips that we have, the two founders, one's from Thailand, one's from India, and they tell stories that it's not just chips, it's chips with the 10-digit code. That we only did half the system. We only implemented half the security system that the whole world has been using for more than a decade. And we haven't been using it at all until just recently. And when we did reuse it, we only used half.
But just following on that thought, even, so automation happens at the low end of the company.
QSR.
is a big service.
Right, but at the higher end, the more sophisticated, it's where the customer meets the interaction of changing money. And that seems to be very congruous. It's not incongruous having somebody make dinner at your table.
Right.
Being able to pay right there.
I agree with you.
There's anything wrong with that.
No, I agree with you.
The technology, I don't think it's, we haven't adopted the technology that's clearly available around the world.
Yes, I agree. I think they're all, the iPad, I think, presents enormous opportunities to the restaurants, to the restaurant world and the high end in terms of not only having the menu, but being able to push on it and see what the finished product looks like, maybe press on that and see how they made it, or the wine list and you see the actual bottle and then you get a full list of the history of the bottle. There are all kinds of things that could be done that have yet to be done. But I think we're really slow.
The menu is on my phone.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the menu is on my phone. I selected when it came time to pay. I paid by my card. On my phone.
Yep.
Erica, let's make this the last question.
Oh, yeah, no, I was actually just, telling on what you said, I think, probably one of the things that happens, and, every vertical is that when we start to think about technology in our vertical, we're so used to thinking about it in a certain way that we fail to notice what we don't notice.
Right.
So when we think about technology, for example, there, we may not be noticing that there's technology that handles environment, sensory, music, all sorts of things that have nothing to do with actually the eating of food or the making of food.
Yep.
It's that innovation that I think is going to be where the real ahas happen. Because you don't notice those things, you're not noticing those things. That's what technology.
Yep.
Really interesting.
I agree.
Where it may
Yep.
be, even though you mentioned like we don't know the space, it may actually be those people who know the space that walk in and notice as they're seeing it with those eyes.
Jerry, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Got it recorded and, get the word out. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people viewing that on Zoom. So. Any last questions for me or for Jerry, or comments, questions, concerns, issues? Any issues? Well, thanks again for coming. Again, we meet the second Tuesday of every month, right here, 9:30, and you'll be getting a follow-up email from my virtual assistant, who does a great job, by the way. And hope to see you all again next time.